Welcome to Resume and Interview Tips with Amanda Abernathy. Over her 17-year career as a pharmacy technician, Amanda has worked in many practice settings, including outpatient, inpatient, insurance companies, healthcare technology, and she's filled many specialized and advanced roles, including inventory specialist, pharmacy technician trainer, senior pharmacy technician, lead pharmacy technician. Passion, hard work, and education have been keys to her career advancement, leading her to self-advocate and push for greater opportunities in the pharmacy technician career path. Amanda works on the corporate level of a health system and actively engages in professional organizations to continue pushing for pharmacy technician advancement. Please welcome Amanda Abernathy.
All right. Thank you for that introduction, and thanks for joining the Student Summit. We're excited to have you here. In this session, we will talk about resume and interview skills, and we're going to frame that in terms of cycle counting. So we'll learn more as we go along. First of all, congratulations on starting your career as a pharmacy technician. It's a great time to be joining the profession. There's lots of growth and more and new advanced and specialized roles popping up every day. But you can think more about that as your career progresses. For now, I think you're probably most excited about getting your foot in the door, getting that first job. The hardest part that you might experience in that process is getting noticed during a hiring process. The resume and the interview are your best chances to show that you're the ideal candidate for the role that you're applying for. And the best way to show that you are the best candidate is to keep your resume updated and to be prepared for the interview. So this is where it's important to have a plan for keeping your resume and your interview skills up to date. We have lots of plans in pharmacy, lots of scheduled tasks, and one of those is cycle counting. If you haven't heard of this process before, it's an inventory process that helps us keep a count on how much medication we have in stock. Over time, these numbers can get out of balance in our software systems. Things like losing a tablet when you're counting and not being able to find it while you're dispensing medication, or sometimes when we receive new medication from our warehouse, the stock bottles will have more or less tablets in them than they are supposed to. So things like this can make our inventory skewed. Cycle counting is when we count our inventory and correct our numbers in the system to get back on track. We can do something similar with our resume and our interview skills. We can set up a scheduled plan for when we will customize, when we will update, and when we'll get prepared. So you can imagine how skipping some of these scheduled tasks could have disastrous outcomes. When it comes to inventory, if we skip counting during our cycle counts and our inventory stays out of balance, we could end up not having enough medication to fill a prescription. We may also end up ordering more medication when it's not needed, and we'll run out of shelf space and spend money on medication when we don't need to. When it comes to our resumes and our interview skills, if we don't customize and we don't prepare and we don't update our skills and resume, we may not get the attention of the hiring managers. We may not be able to prove that we are the best candidates for the role. So how do we cycle count our resume and our interview skills? Well, we do have key moments in the hiring process and in time in general where it's important to make these updates and update our, keep up with the trends. So every time we apply for a role, we want to make sure that we customize and update our resume. When you're updating it, you want to make sure that you are adding any new experiences or skills that show that you are a good match for this role. You also want to customize. So, when we're talking about customizing, what we mean is reading the qualifications and the job requirements and the job description and making sure you highlight the experiences and the skills that you have that match up with those requirements. For example, if the employer is looking for someone who is a good listener, you'll look through all of your experiences in school or any jobs that you've had and pull out the tasks that you've done that show that you're a good listener, and make sure when you're listing your tasks on your resume that you put those towards the top. You also want to write a cover letter for each application. The resume really is just a list of your accomplishments and your skills, but the cover letter is a chance to highlight why you're the best candidate and also to tell the employer things about yourself that don't necessarily fit on your resume. Another key moment to update your resume and get prepared with your interview skills is for every single interview. Every employer is going to be different. So before you interview, make sure that you research the company's mission, vision, and values. Companies usually do live by these three aspects. And they want to make sure when they hire someone that the employee also lives by those. So you'll want to read them and then also think about ways that your personal mission, vision, and values in life align with theirs. And you can also think about skills that you have that highlight those mission, vision, and values, and look through your work experience and find maybe tasks that you've done or roles that you've filled and that align with those mission, vision, and values. Also, for each interview, you want to practice answering interview questions. Thankfully, we live in the technological age, so you don't have to just guess what a common interview question could be. You can search the internet, and there are plenty of examples out there. Also, AI chatbots are a great way to practice. And if you're lucky, you can search for the specific company that you're applying to, and you might be able to find examples of their specific interview questions. Many employers nowadays are asking behaviorally based interview questions, which means they want you to tell a story. So they'll provide you with a specific behavior that they're curious about, such as working short staffed. And they'll say, can you tell us a time when you were working short staffed and how you managed it, as an example? So thinking about stories, not everyone's going to have work experience, but also from school or from volunteer work that you've done. So having those prepared in advance will be very helpful. And finally, having a scheduled time, at least yearly, where you update your resume and get up to date with your interview skills. So making sure when you're updating your resume that you're adding any new experiences that you've had, any new skills you've learned, or any new education, such as a new certification. Personally, I like to add these things as they're happening. That's the easiest way to make sure that your resume stays in date. If you wait too long, you may forget that you've even had the experience or learned the skill or gained the certification. So the more often you can do it, the better, but at least do it once a year. In addition to your own experiences, you also want to stay up to date with what's happening in the industry. As I mentioned, when it came to interviews, that a lot of employers are asking behavioral based questions. That hasn't always been the case. In the past, employers would ask questions that are very straightforward, like how many times have you done this task in your career? Or how long have you had this specific skill? And the trend has shifted so that they want you to tell a story. And in the future, who knows what the trend will be? And the same goes for resume. In years past, a resume was a simple Word document, just one font and a simple list of dates and, descriptions. But now resumes they have sections and they use different font sizes, and employers want a list of your key skills and a short overview of your career or education at the top. And in the future, who knows what they'll want the resume to look like. So keeping up to date with what is what's most popular, basically, is very important to making sure that you are showing that you're the best candidate during the hiring process. So overall, cycle counting your resume and interview skills can help you show that you are the best candidate in the many applications and interviews that employers are going through. Jobs are listed in many places, and each place they receive lots of interviews. So if you are customizing your resume to highlight why you fit with each job, then you'll likely stick out above the crowd, as most people are submitting the same resume for every application they submit. And then when you do get called for that interview, making sure you understand the company and why you want to work there, and being prepared with the stories that prove that you're the best candidate will help you land that job. So as you enter the workforce, I hope that these tips will help you get your interviews and land your ideal role. And thank you for joining today.